Good morning. Today I am going to start discussing a new topic. In fact, my aim is SSB should be simplified. So I'll call it SSB made simple. Now, often people do get worked up on the notion of service selection board and what does it see. When in fact I went to SSB, there was a very interesting myth. I'll not call it a myth, but then we really wondered as to how SSB selected us. And the story or the joke going around was that they take our names, make small chits, roll them up, and throw it on a table in front of the fan. And whatever gets thrown out gets rejected, and whose chit remains on the table gets selected. What a myth. But we must understand that why these myths come up. These myths come up because Service Selection Board is a personality test. Never before one has been subjected to this kind of personality test in his life. Never before anybody has trained you for it. The minute a candidate gets his SSB call, the first thing he wants to know, which exercises, which tests, how many should I do? Sir, I have written 200 TATs. I have written 1000 WATs. I have done 300 SRTs. What more? What else? Interestingly, these are tests. And these tests are actually testing your personality. This is not what SSB wants you to prepare for. SSB wants that you must have a good personality. Now, what does a good personality mean? But before we go on to good, let's see what does a personality mean. A personality means that part of your being which is individual to you and which is seen by others, and they form an opinion about you, about your future behavior. Now let's see this with the help of an example. If a person comes out very properly dressed with a suit and a tie, we generally anticipate that he will be educated. And people start talking to him in that manner. Whereas, if the same person comes out in shorts and vest and he stands in a chapel, he will not be considered to be an educated person. I am sure we all do this. In fact, our subconscious mind does it. It actually looks at a person and anticipates his behavior. The process by which he does is his assessment of personality. The minute a person opens his mouth, a lot of things are revealed. The language he speaks, his accent, the verbal and non-verbal part of his communication, his vision, his horizon, his thought process, emotions, feeling, arguments, and all these things actually change your perception about that person, and that part gets added to your personality. A personality is a thing or is a quality or a trait of character wherein you actually have lots of things which are in your subconscious and in your habit. One occasional burst of excellence doesn't count in your personality unless it is repeated a number of times, becomes a behavior and a part of your subconscious. Therefore, when this Ssb selection board actually goes very deliberately 4 days to assess you, they actually want to assess that particular trait of personality which is your second nature, which you can be known for, which is in your subconscious, which actually defines you. And therefore, when we say, do you have it in you? It is not by a mere show off. It is not one burst. It is dedicated, consistent behavior which is almost your habit. Therefore, when we take on Ssb made simple, let's quickly understand that these tests that actually are taken in the Ssb are only to understand your personality. And therefore, when you must work not on the tests, but on the personality. And in the personality, we want that you should be a person who can be trusted with responsibility of leading our men into the battle. We want that you should be a trusted teammate who would stand by your team against all odds. You have seen whenever few soldiers die, there's definitely name of an officer in that list. That is because the Indian Army is extremely proud of the officers that we have, whom we select and train, and they are the ones who lead our soldiers from the front. We are the only army which has so many officer casualties. So-called officers are in the first line whenever it comes to action. It doesn't happen in other services. That is the reason why Service Selection Board continues the policy of its selection of 4 days by 3 independent assessors. So therefore, if you want to get selected, please have these qualities in you. We, a team of officers here, are trying to make this particular aspect into your subconscious, into your habit, trying to develop your communication skills. We're trying to work out those qualities which will actually impact your life, change it the way you look at things, and of course, change the way people look at you. I had recently read somewhere that if you run after career or you run after money, then you continue to run after them. But if you invest your time and energy in your own growth, the career, the money, the success, everything runs after you. Therefore, the simplest way to get through in the SSB is to work on your own growth. You know what it takes to be trusted. You know how can you be responsible. You know how can be good communicator and of course a good team man. If you have the reasonable power of analysis, if you can take decisions, if at some stage an assessor can assess you and say, yes, this is the officer whom I would like to have in my team, you'll get selected. So, preparing for SSB actually is very simple. Work on your growth. Work on your communications. Work on your power of analysis and decision making. Be a good son. Be a good friend. Be a good team man. And I'd like to finish with a quote. Remember, one of the biggest and most famous battles, the Battle of Waterloo, was won in the playfields of Eton. Unquote. Thank you. अमित हो गया.